Hi, this is Tom, and in this episode, I'm going to factor for you x cubed minus 64. Now, the challenge in this problem is that x cubed minus 64 can be written as either a difference of squares or a difference of cubes. We're going to take a look at both. First, let's start with a difference. A difference of cubes. Now, if you recall, a difference of cubes can be written as, the general form is a cubed minus b cubed is equal to a minus b, a squared, remember we use the opposite sign here, plus ab plus b squared. Now, in order to see x to the 6th minus 64, what we have to do is we have to find out how x to the 6th could be written as a perfect cube and if 64 can as well. Well, here's what we can do. Notice that x to the 6th can be written as x squared times x squared times x squared. In other words, that's just x squared cubed. So that's how x to the 6th can be written as a perfect cube. 64 can be written as a perfect cube if you think that 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So now I have 4 cubed. So let's factor that. So in other words, I could say that x to the 6th minus 64 is equal to, parenthesis, x squared cubed minus 4 cubed. Now, if I follow the pattern, notice now that my a, this a here, just because we're just looking, these a's are just holding positions for us. But the a value, instead of just being an a, it's the entire x squared. It's what's being cubed. So when I follow my pattern, I have x squared minus 4 times, and now I'm going to have the x squared, and I square it because that's what it tells me to do right here. X squared squared, I use a plus, I'm going to go x squared times 4, always positive, plus 4 squared. Let's simplify what we have so far. My first factor is x squared minus 4. My second one is x squared squared. Remember, when an exponent is raised to an exponent, we multiply the exponents. This gives me x to the 4th plus, now you can write this as x squared times 4 like we did, but it's more common to write the coefficient first followed by the variable. So 4x squared plus 16. A couple things to note. First off, if we were to try to play the game on this problem, we would go 1 times 16, so that would give me a 16 in the top place and a 4 in the bottom place. And I'm getting that from, I'll bring some color into this. I'm getting that from my coefficient here, 1, and my 16 here. So that's where this product here is coming from. And this 4 here would go here. Now the problem is that there's no two numbers that will both multiply to 16 and add to 4. So because of that, at this point, we would have to say that the second factor is prime. So we'll stop there. And usually, when you're factoring a difference of cubes using this pattern, usually I say that entire second factor is prime. Now, let's return back to what we have. Notice that this first factor is x squared minus 4. This is, in fact, a difference of squares. And this has a pattern that should be fairly familiar. This is the one where the factors only differ by a sign. So this factors to x plus 2 times x minus 2. And then I put my last factor here. This gives me x to the 4th plus 4x squared plus 16. Now I have factored x to the 6th minus 64 using the strategy of it being a difference of cubes. Let's try this one more time, but this time we're going to factor it using the identifying x to the 6th minus 64 as a difference of squares, and we should get the same result. Let's check. So now we're going to factor x to the 6th, that's a 6, minus 64 as a difference of squares. Okay, here we go. Now remember that a difference of squares has the pattern that of something squared minus something else squared. If you can identify that pattern, then you can factor it as a plus b times a minus b. So in other words, if I started here with my x to the 6th, if I started here with my x to the 6th, what I'd have to do is figure out a way to write x to the 6th as something squared. And the answer would be I could write it as x cubed squared. I have to do the same with the 64. The question is, can I write 64 as something squared? And this one might be more familiar to us. 8. 8 squared is 64, or 8 times 8. Now, so what I have here is the x cubed. This is my a value, and my 8 is the b. So I follow this pattern. Where there's an a, I'll now replace it with an x cubed. Where there's a b, so here I'll replace this with an x cubed. Where there's a b, I'll replace that with an 8. So let's begin. Now I can say that x to the 6th minus 64 is equal to x cubed plus 8 times x cubed minus 8. But wait a minute, look at what we've created. We have not one, but two sums, we have a sum of cubes, and here we have a difference of cubes, both of which factor according to the patterns above. So look at this. This is a sum of cubes, and the second factor here, this is a difference of cubes. Now, to add a little clarity, what I'm going to do is, let's do the first factor. We'll do that in blue. So this one here, so we can keep track, let's factor this one in blue. Okay, so here we go. When I do that, I'm going to have this as x plus 2. Remember, I use the same sign. Then I take the a value, and I square it, minus 2x plus 2 squared. Now, when I factor the second piece, what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor that using, again, same pattern, I take x, same sign, minus 2, times x squared, opposite sign, plus 2x, plus 2 squared. Good. Now let's put our equal sign. Oops. Let's put a better equal sign. Let's put my equal sign here. Give ourselves some space. So when I simplify all my terms, as you should do, we have x plus 2 times x squared minus 2x plus 4 times x minus 2 times x squared plus 2x plus 4. Here's what the interesting part of this. Notice that we've got a different answer. If I scroll up, I can see on both. I can see that here I had 1, 2, 3 factors. Here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 factors. So I got different answers. And the reason for that is this. We were not able to factor this third factor. However, when we factored the original problem using a different initial strategy, it allowed us to uncover actually how this factors. We wouldn't have been able to figure that out in any other way. So let's give it down. That third factor in the first answer actually factors into these two pieces. So the key to factoring a problem like x to the 6th minus 64 is to first factor it as a difference of squares and then factor the sum of cubes and the difference of cubes. And that's how you factor x cubed minus 64. Thank you.